Is that your studio?
It's a room. It's like a bedroom. Yeah, yeah. It's a kind of I can only be so loud. So it's like my favorite place, but also the bane of my existence all at the same time.
Is
Like
it?
anytime I like sing over anything or like I want to crank something up, it only lasts for a little bit before I either get like overly self-conscious or like a neighbor starts banging on the walls or something.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Is it fully soundproof?
No, no, man, like I like keep saying like, okay, like I'm gonna find a place or we're gonna build out like a little like garden room in the back or something. And it's just everything is like I don't know what it's like there, but here like still like building anything or like
Yeah.
home, it's just so expensive that I can't justify. I mean, even though it's like what I do, like, can you see? I mean, I could clue you into kind of how my brain works a little bit because I'm like, it's like what I do, and it would bring me all the joy in the world, but I can't pull the trigger on it because I'm like, oh my God, it's so expensive.
Oh, it's crazy expensive, and I've thought about it too. Um, but yeah, every time I get a quote or I have a good look into it, I'm like, nah, I'm not
Yeah,
going
like,
there.
as far as it goes, I just threw it in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah. Oh man, it is nuts. Hey, it's really good to have you on here. New record 152. It's coming out in a few weeks. Been a long time coming for this record, hasn't it? Like you started work 2020.
Yeah, we went in because like 2019 marked like 20 years of us being a band, and I don't like spending too much time like in or around nostalgia or that whole thing because I think
Mm,
it's dangerous. There's we figure if you do anything for 20 years, you probably should celebrate it. That's incredible. And then so we took that year to like just kind of go all around the world and like go to the people who helped make it all possible. And then so in 2020, our plan was, like start writing a new record. And then in our minds, we're like, yeah, like we do that now. And then probably, I mean, it'll be out in 2021. And then, but then of course the pandemic happened and that put a big hold on everything. I mean, we were still like squirreling away ideas and things like that. But I think that like we all live in separate places, we're pretty far from one another. So there was like us getting together or doing anything like that just wasn't really on the table. And then kind of once we had a couple false starts, like things were opening back up. So we're like, okay, we're gonna be in the studio this
mm,
day.
yeah.
Everything was back down again. We're like, you know what? Never mind, we'll do it later. And then and like then so there was that. And then so once we finally got back in the studio, we were kind of like just meandering a little bit. Like we're like, do we know how to do this? Like what does our band sound like? We don't
Yep.
know. And um it was actually we went in uh we wrote a song with Steve Aoki and which everybody knows Steve Aoki is everyone's
Mm,
favorite
yeah.
DJ and entrepreneur music head.
He
And
does it all.
yeah, he does. He's the busiest guy I've ever met. Like
Yeah.
hands down, busiest guy I've ever met. And then so he came to I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he had a show like late, like 2 in the morning or something. And so during the day before that show, which was crazy, like flew in from Puerto Rico or something crazy, went to the studio with us, went to his show, and then the next day he like had a show in Colorado or something crazy. Anyways, so he like comes in and the engineer and producer that came with him was this guy named Tushar Apti and the who's from Melbourne. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the that experience that day of like writing that thing kind of really opened our eyes to this like oh my god there's another way to do it because the way these guys work is much different than what we're accustomed to as like a rock band because
Yeah.
typically like, going to the studio you're at one place and you're tracking everything but with technology and just how things have been moving over the years like I feel that there's this whole it's just opened up this whole new world, a whole new world, that thing. And then of possibility for
Yeah.
when it comes to like making a record and things like that. And that was our first glimpse of that.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, it's very rare that the four of us get on the same page at the same time. And during that day, I remember there was one point we were all just standing outside talking, and then we just kind of look at each other like, we should, we need to chase this. Like whatever's happening right now is like what, like everyone was excited about it, and everyone could feel like it just, felt right. So that kind of like from that day kind of on, that really informed the rest of what would become 152.
The album is, I've had a listen, I've had a few listens to it already. I felt quite honored to be able to have a listen nice and early and get through the tracks and really just sit there and listen. Now, obviously, the single Amphetamine Smiles, I'm used to Taking Back Sunday with that first track just being an absolute,
Yeah.
balls to the wall. It's a different start, and I like it. It's a cool song, obviously one of your singles, but starts with acoustic. It's already off the bat very different.
Yeah, there like having that song be first, like we had a lot of back and forth for the very reason that you're talking about, like, because we're like, nah, man, like you got to come out swinging.
Yeah.
But the thing and the sneaky thing about Amphetamine Smiles, I think, is that it does come in swinging, but it makes you wait for it. And then so for
Yes.
me, and then from my perspective, when I listen to the song, like even as I'm like singing and playing, there's like it's like going fine, and I'm doing my best to give the impression that, oh yeah, it's just quiet acoustic thing, but inside of me, I'm like, ah, it's coming, and the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
band comes. No, it's this explosion. And man, the first time we heard that, that was one of the studios we went to in Los Angeles. I
Hmm.
actually think Tushar might have blown their speaker, their near fields, because he just cranked it. And
Yeah,
then like I had like we had the idea to do that, or to introduce the band that way,
yeah.
but we hadn't quite figured out the right way to do it yet. And then once we got it, it was everybody's like, "We're done for the day. Let's go!" And then, just because it was like felt like we nailed it. Hopefully, other
Yeah,
people will feel that.
one of those moments where you just went, "Hey, that is a cracking tune." Some of the songs on the album are not the singles actually. I love "Keep Going." The way your
Uh,
rhythm is in the verses, in the rhythm that you get with your vocal there is so cool. And the slower one that comes a little later on in the record, I'm the only one who knows you.
yeah.
That's the sincerity of that. They're two great tracks as well.
Thank you for saying that. It's like real interesting. Like, Keep Going didn't go through a whole lot of changes because that one came about like very last, like at the tail end. We were just
Yep.
kind of like, man, something that's like real forward motion, like so that's where that came from. And then it's pretty funny because I've been deciding whether I was going to tell people this or not, but like there's it had a bit of a different um, introduction to the
Right.
song, like to what you hear now, and like it was more of like a strummed, still like little broken electric. And then we were in the studio. We're like, yo, what if we do something like think like Christopher Cross sailing, and that came out, and it was like from that second on we were like, this, we're on to something. We are like, just from taking that influence to then like John writing a guitar part around it.
So who
And
says that? Who was in the room that said that? Who said, let's think of, Christopher Cross?
the only time that I remember hanging out like with my parents together
Hmm.
and them uh getting along was my dad had this I don't know what brand it was, but it was like this big silver like stereo, and then like the like taller floor speakers and like the whole nine. And I remember listening to that record, that Christopher Cross record, just
Hmm.
uh, in that memory. Like
Right.
that's what we were doing. We were all sitting in the living room. So that record and that song specifically has always been a huge deal to me. Like it's always been special. And then Mark, our drummer, there was he has a similar type memory with that song. So I like think that over the years it just comes up from time to time. And then there was something about the way that the chorus was moving in that song that like it just clicked, and I thought, oh my God, we Christopher Cross, like let's chase that. And then obviously it doesn't sound anything like Christopher Cross, but I like think it was just more about this idea of having like a suspended chord and some kind of light chorusing going on, which is always a win for me because I'm like, yo, put a chorus pedal on everything. And then but normally I get vetoed, but that time it worked out.
Oh, great song. Absolutely great song. Hey, the album name, what is it? It's a tribute to where you guys what used to hang out or you met, or what's the name, the story behind the name?
Well, so there's an exit in North Carolina. So I grew up in kind of a smaller town, and so any shows or anything coming through, you have to drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours away to go see. And exit 152 was this exit that was about halfway there. So we would either like meet there, like because we all lived in these different kind of little towns. So like we'd meet there and then go to the like caravan to the show, or that would just be where we'd stop to take a break, the whole thing. And then so once we started touring and like chasing this thing, like being gone, we were, just not as present in our people's lives, like in our friends, our family. We were missing all kinds of things. So that was kind of our way to um, like this inside secret between us, to so that way, hopefully when they saw it, they would know like, hey, like you're a big part of this. You're a part of us and who we are, and we love you. And then so it was so that's what it represented, and it's been on every record cover, and then we've used it in other art too. And so with this record, we the kind of the way I've been describing it is that I feel like for a long time with our band, we were trying really hard to like get into other people's lives, like hey guys over here, like kind of thing. And then with this, and I feel just how we all feel about it, and it's like, how about we invite people into ours? And so when it came time to title the record, it was just like, well, how do we do that? Like, how do we have a title that represents that? And 152 is just perfect
Yeah.
because now it's like we're taking this thing that was just between us and our people and sharing it with everyone and being like, hey, man, come on over. We made dinner. You're going to love it. We got some wine. It's beautiful.
There you go.
So that's why we named the album that.
Yeah. It's
Wouldn't that have been easy if I was just like, those are my three favorite numbers?
that would have been boring though. Hey, you guys have been called emo, pop punk, pop rock, alternative punk rock, all these different genres. Where does this one sit?
I, I I was doing an interview with John earlier,
Yeah.
our guitar player John, and he said we were it was a question like along the same lines. It was like more about like state of music, whatever. And John said this really interesting thing. Like he said, um, he's like, I think with the combination of our sensibilities and Tushar, our producer's sensibilities, and the way we put those together,
Yeah.
I don't think, he said, I couldn't confidently put it in a category. And
Good.
I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. And I was like, oh my God, John, you're right. And he
I
doesn't
love
sound like
that,
an
man. I love that.
like,
There's something about genres. Obviously, you have your favorite genres and stuff, but I don't know. There's just something about, sitting in a recording studio, I'm guessing, and it's like sort of, oh, let's write a pop punk record or let's write a emo record. It's just good to just let whatever come out, come out.
yeah, that's what, man, like, cause those genres and those things, like that's not that's not for us. Like, that's not for us to decide, I don't think.
Yeah.
Because it's like, just because of said, we're not going in with the intention of like, all right, guys, this is going to be the best metal record anybody's heard from Taking Back Sunday. Like, we don't go in with anything like that. We go in with like, let's throw everything at the wall and just see if we can represent the people that we are right now, and then
Yeah.
maybe that'll help us go out and find other people like that. So
Awesome.
you don't feel like you're the only one.
Hey, you've been touring, you got on the
So,
road, you got on the road last year. You've been touring this year, you've been touring quite extensively, and then you're coming to Australia. How long has that been?
man, it's been so long since we've been there. I think the last time we were there was 2019, earlier in the year. I think. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to maybe do a quick Google, but I can't because we're doing this interview on my phone. So, but I can get back to you. I think it was 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. So it's wild that it's been so long because normally it's only, I mean, like a year or two.
Mm. I
And
know. Then the
we're,
world goes and has the pandemic and change everything. Everything's different.
yeah, man, it really messed with a lot of my plans, like across the board. I don't know about you, man.
Yeah.
There, so they, yeah, I mean, to have the opportunity to be able to travel so far from home, and just like share like that experience of like just what the live show is, like just like getting lost in like real time. And
Yep.
it's magic. It's like this thing I'm always chasing, this feeling. And then so I look forward to doing that down there with you guys.
Awesome. You still throw the mic around, right? And kick stuff and jump around.
There's the microphone thing started because I was the bass player when the band started,
Yeah.
or like joined the band, and then I ended up singing, and so when I started singing, I didn't have an instrument like to really like keep me safe, like a security
Mm.
blanket to hide behind kind of. And then I'm like, well, like Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights, like I didn't know what to do with my hands, and that's where that was uh, born from, and then it became just kind of um, like a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that like that's something that if I'm not holding an instrument, I feel like I like have to do just because otherwise the nervous energy would have me probably doing some other weird
Well,
shit that
it's
nobody would
sick.
want to see.
It's sick. It's a show. It's a show in itself watching you do it. It's quite a talent just watching that, let alone you singing and having your band behind you. But it's really, really cool. I know you've got to run. You've got plenty of stuff to do today, plenty of interviews. But thank you, Adam, so much for jumping on the podcast today. We're going to catch you here at Good Things Festival, Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and I think I'm going to make sure I'm there. I've got to be there. Watch it again.
Yeah,
Take Back Sunday in action. New album. Uh, it's a good time to be alive.
yeah, man. I'll tell you what. With every podcast, we have a request that we have like home addresses, phone numbers, all that. So if you're not
Mhm.
there, we'll just come get you.
Yeah,
But you might not. You have to go.
that's fine. Throw me in the van. That'll be sick. All right, man. Thanks so much for chatting.
Yeah, man. You have a great day. You have a great day.
Yeah, one of the two. Thanks, man.
Yeah.